Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elevate Your Life podcast. We are doing podcast number 92 today, Cheryl.
Oh my gosh, 92. I figured out, Paul, that I say things like this. Oh my gosh.
You're excited.
I am excited. But I never knew that I did that. And then I was just doing a little bit of a training this last weekend. And that is exactly what everybody said. Oh yeah, that's what she does. And I'm like,
my gosh.
Okay, there it is. Oh my gosh.
Well, today, Cheryl, we're talking about, oh my gosh, we're talking about your favorite topic in the world.
Okay, well, I'm really excited about this.
Cheryl is Mrs. Action. So today we're going to be talking about action and how we can get ourselves to take the action we know that will give us the results that we're looking for, which is the real trick in life, Cheryl, as we've all learned. So you can find these notes for this episode at elevateyourlife.com. There's a link there. You just go to the website or in the description below and click on that. And then the notes will be at elevateyourlife.com. So Cheryl, we've been talking about our ultimate success system of plan, do, review. So kind of talked about plan in the past. So today we're focusing on the do part. And again, I shouldn't even talk today. It's just, because you are the doer here.
Well, I have to tell you that I did learn very early on that action, I really believe that it was the most important thing ever, right? To get into action, to just look, just do it is like one of my favorite lines because that's really what it is. But the thing I've realized though, and what I'm excited to talk a little bit about today is that yes, action is so important. But if you don't know where you're going, then you will never, ever be as successful as you can be, right? So yes, getting into action, you absolutely are going to have some sort of a little bit of success if you don't know where you're going or what you're doing, right? And that's how I was a lot of my life. But then I realized, and it's been such an eye-opener for me, to realize that you've got to have a great plan. You have to know where you're going. I mean, Paul, if I got in my car and just started driving and had no idea where I was going, how on earth would I ever get there, right? And I love that analogy because it's the same way in life and in business. Absolutely.
And I was Mr. Plan, and then I met Cheryl, Mrs. Action. So you can see why we're so great together is because we like peanut butter and jelly coming together, chocolate and peanut butter, something like that, salt and pepper. Right.
Yes.
It was a great combination. So I've learned so much from you, Cheryl, over the years, and that I don't think you were ever too far off. I really think, and this is from our experience over the past 6 years, where we had a plan, and I do agree 1,000%. You have to know where you're going to go. More importantly, you need to know why you want to go there, which is, I think, the thing that most people miss. But as far as the strategy goes, the action plan, what we've really learned is that you can have an idea in the beginning of what you're going to do, which how we're going to start this, but every single thing we've done, every single thing we've done in 6 years, we adjusted that strategy along the way.
Sure. The review process. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I totally understand now more than ever that plan's important, but this do part, people, let's face it, Cheryl, we talk about the things we can control in life, thoughts, feelings, and actions. Only 3 things you can control. A lot of people, the majority of the people out there have a feeling most of the time of fear, which is keeping them out of taking action and ever even having a chance to review what's going on because they're not doing anything.
Sure. And I think what happens, Paul, and I've seen this a lot, is that, we want to get ready. We need to get ready. Now let's get ready. Now, I don't know enough to really get into action, so I need to learn more.
Yeah.
I need to adjust my plan before I do anything.
Right.
And to me, oh my gosh, no, get in there and do it. And then, have your plan, do it. You cannot just keep revising your plan if you don't get into action at all, right? Yeah. And believe me, and I think the problem is you said fear. And I think that that's absolutely right because gosh, what if I fail? Or what if I make a mistake, for heaven's sakes? Well, guess what? You will. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We all do, right? And so once you can kind of get into that mindset of, hey, listen, let's get going. I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm going to stumble. I'm going to fall. And I promise you, I'll get back up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what it is.
It is. And next week, we're going to talk about results, which we're going to go over some fascinating statistics about babies. But
Mhm.
so the average baby falls or fails 100 times a day, falls down for 3
What
months.
if we did?
It takes 9,000 steps for the average baby to learn how to walk.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love those statistics though, because how many times do you have to do something to be an expert? 10,000 times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's,
That number is
and
not
that's
far off,
exactly
is it?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome though. Those are some great statistics and things to really remember as we're getting out there and trying new things and doing new things.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that whole baby situation and walking situation. So we're going to talk a lot about that next week when we talk about results. But today we're going to stick with actions to get people to take action. And really a baby, I mean, it sees you walking, sees humans walking and says, hey, that looks freaking cool. That's going to be faster than my current crawling strategy. So I want to learn that walking strategy so I can get from A to B faster. And they get right into action. I mean, they got a plan, but that plan goes south in about 3 seconds before their head hits the end table.
Oh God.
But then so they have a thought about that, saying that, or a thought behind it and then a meaning that it just means I got to try again. And they don't think like, oh, well, this walking thing's too difficult, so I'm just going to give up on this thing. Like, it's just not going to happen for me. I know it happens for other people, but not for me. I'm not gonna be able to walk. No baby in the history has ever said that. So let's talk about those 3 things, Cheryl. So thought. So I'm gonna give you a word. So exercise. What's the thought that comes to your mind when you think of exercise?
Yay! It really is. I love to exercise, right? I've all, from a young age, I loved it. And I like to, get into action, and the way I feel afterwards, that's really what's driving me.
Yeah.
Right. And to feel healthy and strong. So I love all those things.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to have a little game we're going to play where we're going to be coming up with a word. And then what's the first word you think of when you hear that phrase or that word? And so, Cheryl, what's the first thought most people have, though, when we mention the word exercise?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah. Hard is a good one.
So what's their emotion? It's not a good one, whether it's fear or, this is going to be painful. I don't know what I'm doing.
Or
This probably isn't going to work. Yep. All these emotions are coming through. But with you have the emotions of being excited about it. You have this feeling of being strong. I know that it's one of your top feelings, that emotions that you have. And you got this massive feeling of determination inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those would be considered pleasurable feelings or positive feelings. And then lo and behold, what do you do every single day, Cheryl?
Work out.
Exercise. Yep. So but you can see if it was the different thoughts and different emotions, you can see why 80% of the population does not exercise.
Sure, absolutely. And I think it's so important to remember here, if there's something that you don't like, that you want to do, that you need to do to elevate your life, then you have to change. What we're saying is you have to change the thought process and the emotions behind that word, right? Because if not, Paul, I'm afraid that you will not get into action and do it. If you
Absolutely.
Don't change those.
And before I got into business for myself, Cheryl, I ran some Gold's Gyms in the New York area here. And I actually got to go to a Gold's Gym convention in Las Vegas. And I'll never forget this moment. They said that even if you paid 80% of your clients or members to come in, they won't come in. But the other 20%, if you close the door or lock it, they'll break in so they can work out. just such an interesting difference between, and we see that with people all the time. Some people absolutely love exercise like we do. Other people completely hate it. Like, listen, I own a gym membership. I just have never really gone there and done anything.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
it's
all
interesting.
about
Go ahead.
it's all about the thoughts and emotions that those two different people are putting behind it.
That's right. And you guys, how exciting is it that we just need to change our thoughts around a word, and it's just a word, right? It's around something, and change and give, and the meaning that we're giving to it, and our emotions that we're attaching to that, and we can completely change whatever it is we want in our life to make our lives better. And I love that, Paul. I think it's so amazing that it's that simple.
It is. And if you really, stop and think through it, exercise is good for you. I mean, there's no debating that.
Right.
And so just to keep on saying, well, exercise is hard, it's too difficult. If you keep on doing that and keep on associating pain with it, it's just going to take sheer willpower to try to work out. That's not the case for you and I. We just do it because that's who we are. It becomes part of our identity. So I can't encourage you enough to really look at different things in your life, especially things that you should be doing but not doing, and ask, what are my thoughts? Like if I mention the word water to you, drinking water, people will be like, it's too hard. I can't keep count, or whatever it is, or they're taking my supplements every single day. It's too hard to remember, or they just don't do it, but they don't have, again, a result they're looking for specifically, which is increasing their health score, which is what we focus on, and a real purpose behind it. What is the purpose? And unfortunately with people, it takes something bad to happen for most people with their health in order to make them have a significant change in their actions. Their why changes. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit about, somebody having a heart attack, going to the hospital, being flown to the hospital for heart attack. It's super easy to get them to take the necessary actions to go to a gym and take their supplements and all that afterwards, because their why is different. They never want to experience that helicopter ride again.
Right. I love that, Paul. But let's talk for a minute. I want to talk about RPM. And let me tell you the reason why I want to talk about that for a minute is because I love what RPM will give you. And these are like three of my favorite words. So RPM will give you speed, power, and momentum. And you need those three things to take the action to create the result that you want. And I just find that so fascinating. So let's talk about RPM, because if there's something that can give me speed, power, and momentum, I want it.
Sure. And it really starts, Cheryl, with knowing what you want. I mean, we talk about this all the time on Elevate Your Life podcast. Most people have no idea what they want.
Right.
And that's problem number one, but if you really know what you want, and want it bad enough in that you have a why, and Cheryl, talk a little bit about the why, because I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart. And I wouldn't say it's more important than the result, but it's super close.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have them all, right? Because if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there if you have no idea. But the thing is that once you have decided where you're going and what you want, like the result that you want to have, which this was such an eye opener for me to think, well, what's the result you want as you go into this meeting today? Or what's the result you want as you're doing the training today for your team? Like whatever it is. And it's so fascinating to me before I even start, I'm going to decide the result I want, right? That was just like eye-opening. So the result is super important, but the why we do what we are going to do has to be big. Okay. It has to be big enough so that when you fall down, because you will, and when you come up against a brick wall, because you will, when all of these things happen, when you don't think you can do it one more minute of the day, you're overwhelmed, you're tired, you're mad, whatever it is, that why has to be big enough to push you through all of those times, right?
Yeah.
And it may not even be push you, right? It may be pull you, but one way or the other, that why has to be big enough. And the interesting thing to me, Paul, is for adults, I don't remember where I was reading this, but for adults, it has to be a big deal. It has to be something big that will move us forward or have us make a change in our lives.
Yeah.
Right, because we get comfortable or whatever. So the why has got to be big enough. And I always like to talk about, when I talk about whys, I like to talk with moms especially about their kids, because their kids, my kids, are a huge why for me.
Yes.
Like that's giving them a better life than I had. Oh my gosh, that's like the biggest why ever. But I think that is the way it is for all of us. I really do believe that. So just make sure that when you're thinking about what your why is, it's got to be big.
It's got to be huge. Yeah. Well said. And it's the third part is the MAP, which stands for Massive Action Plan, which also means strategy. So all those, we use a lot of different words here on the podcast, but those things are all the same. Now I'm Mr. Strategy. I love strategy, but what I've learned from Cheryl is that if your result, the result you want, and you got a big enough reason why you want to get it, I'm not saying the strategy doesn't matter, but you're going to get it because we're just going to find a way. I mean, a baby does not really know the strategy to walking.
Right.
So I'm going to get up, I'm going to do something, I'm going to fall, I'm make an adjustment, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do this 9,000 times until I can figure out the right strategy and how to put one foot in front of the other and stay balanced.
Absolutely.
So don't get me wrong, strategy is still important. And we've seen people in dieting and health and all kinds of different areas of life, business, wrong strategy. I don't care how good you are at knowing what you want and why you want it. If the strategy is not there, you'll never, ever achieve it. So you got to have all three. So this is completely different thinking, Cheryl, than anyone else is doing out there, because what do most people do? They get up in the morning and they're like, oh, here's my to-do list. So they start out with the strategy, the map. And I got to do this, 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 and this. And then we always talk to people and we say, people tell us, well, I'm doing a lot. I'm busy all day long, super busy, but I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. And then we always ask them, well, where'd you want to go? And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, of course you're not getting anywhere. It's because you never took the time to say what the result is. And Cheryl, I love it. We've really have honed in on this. And, whenever we're doing a meeting or scheduling something or whatever, it's always, what's the result we're looking for on this?
Yeah, I think that's so.
And what a great place to start.
So right. Yeah. Yep.
So to take massive action, Cheryl, you need a couple things. Number one is what?
Well, think great thoughts and associate pleasure to the thoughts that you're thinking, and make sure, we always talk about this, guard your thoughts. So make sure that you're having those great thoughts. And I think the greatest thought is that you can be successful, right? You can get the result that you want. I don't care what it is. I don't care. It could be anything, and you can get that. And that's got to be, I think, one of your biggest good thoughts.
Yeah. If you're not getting or taking massive action right now, and you should be exercising or doing whatever. Number one, it's because of your thoughts and your emotions that you're attaching to those thoughts. Then it goes into RPM, like we just talked about. You got to know what your result is. I want to weigh this amount, or whatever your result is. I want my health score to be this number. You got to know your why. You got to know a plan, a strategy, how to do that. You got to do it, which is what this podcast is all about. Then the last thing, Cheryl, number 5, is to review. So what's the review about, Cheryl?
Well, the review is you've done all the things you need to do. You've got the result, you've got your big why, and you've got your plan, and then you've done it, you've put it into action, but now you've got to tweak a thing or two, right? We're always tweaking things, changing things a little bit. Hey, we've done this, we've done that. Can we make it better? Absolutely. And so then you need to review, which I will be right honest with you. I never wanted to review anything. It's still hard for me to review because I just want to keep doing more. right? And so I just want to keep getting into action. And I don't want to look at what's happening and tweak it, but it's become like one of the biggest things and one of the most important things that I can do every single week.
Absolutely. And so when we're reviewing, and especially when we're reviewing when we didn't get the result we wanted. So I want to lose some weight. You get on the scale, nothing, same weight as before. So only two things could have happened. Number one, you didn't follow your plan. So here's the plan on how to lose weight and you didn't do it. So what's the problem, Cheryl? Why don't people follow the plan?
Well, I'm sure that there could be a number of reasons, but maybe they don't have a plan they don't have a good plan. They don't have
Sure.
a plan that they can, that's working for what they need to do to achieve those results.
Yeah. Were they very clear in the result? Did they have a strong enough why? The clients that I work with, that seems to be the one thing that is really lacking in people that don't follow the plan, is their why just wasn't big enough. Now, if you didn't get the results you wanted, but you did follow the plan, the problem is obviously the plan, because the strategy was off. So we need to make little adjustments in the strategy to get the results we're looking for. So just whatever the issue is, whether you're either following the plan and not getting the results, or you are following the plan and still not getting the results, you know what to blame or what to point to, what to make an adjustment with at that point. And Cheryl, we always talk about identity. It's just becoming the type of person that takes massive action. And you become that person. You are that woman that takes massive action. And I know deep inside of you, you're saying to yourself, I'm the type of person who takes massive action and gets massive results. It's just who I am.
Absolutely. And I think everybody can use that as a mantra, right? Yeah. As a mantra, you can use that and have that available for yourself if you start to feel scared or start to feel like, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not sure if I can do that or not. And I love adding, Paul, that's just who I am. I love to add that to everything because it really, I don't know, it like cements it in my brain, or it makes my brain think, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. That is who I am.
Yeah. So good.
That little boost of confidence.
All right, great. Well, our plus one and what we want to end with here today is we encourage you to start taking massive action.
Yes. And if you do, then you too can go from fine to fabulous.
Absolutely, Cheryl. Awesome podcast. And we'll talk to you next week. And we'll be talking about results next week, which is going to be very, very interesting. So tune in for that. Until then, have a great week, everybody.
Bye, you guys.